thing would be something like this, the Jazz Fake Book. What we do is we take a tune and you look at the fancy, expensive chords, and it gives you examples that give you context and maybe something that you can play and add to your repertoire. And then once you add that to your repertoire, then you're actually playing guitar. And that's what it's all about at the end of the day. If I go off on a tangent, it's because it's worth it. The whole idea of the cycle of thirds, the circle of thirds, the sequence of thirds, whatever you want to call it, is to enable you to really get to grips with harmony in diatonic key. We're looking at chords, we're looking at scales, and we're thinking, that's great me learning them, but what can I do with them? We're going to make it nice and easy for everybody. I'm going to do this in the key of C major. Fear not, I'm going to do it in another key as well, just so that you understand what's going on and how I came to seeing this cycle of thirds. Let's just look at this here. We've got C major. Now, the ingredients for C major come from the C major scale. We're going to have 7 notes: C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Okay, now when we do it like that, that's an octave. There we go, root, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, 8 VE, that's the octave. These are the ingredients for all the chords. So what we do is we're going to stack these notes and then we're going to make triads with these notes. I want to introduce this idea. When you think of something, because it's theory, you might think of it. And when I think of the musical alphabet or a scale, it's linear and it's terminal. Does this make sense? It's very linear, then it ends. And when it ends, you have to rethink it. And you have to go back to the beginning again. Whereas circles and cycles, I like thinking in those because they just join back up on each other. And for me, they seem to be quite an efficient way of thinking. So that's why I like circles. We have this linear concept of organising the notes of C major there. So we've got C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So that is one octave, but what we can do is we can take this up another octave, and this is going to make sense in a minute. We have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Now this is tying in with this lesson here, guys. Simple octave and the compound octave. If you've got the book, there's a link at the bottom. You can get to the lesson and you can review this material and go deeper into it. But just to show you, simple octave is just here. So simple octave's just here and compound octave is here. And the reason that you need to know this is so that we can understand where all those fancy, expensive chords get their names. Now, the way that triads work is we jump over in tertian movement. We're leapfrogging over to get the next note up. So we've got the root, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and then we've got 8 there. So if we look at that, you see we've got root, third, fifth. If I jump over again, this forms the triad. Triad, triangle, triceratops, tripod. I say trifle, but I'm not sure trifle only has 3 layers, but maybe trifle. I don't know. We'll put tripod in there. It means 3. So we've got 3 notes there. But what we can do is within the simple octave, we can jump over and then we can gather the 7th. I think of this 7th as a bridging note. This note is super important. What this does is it bridges us into the compound octave. If I was to take this stream of numbers and carry it on, remember this is still the root again. It's just a repeat of that root there. We go over with there's a D there. And what we do is just carry these numbers on. So we go 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We're back to C again. So that means we're essentially back at the root note. Now, if I carry this tertian movement all the way across here, what you'll see is then I'll pick up the F, I'll jump over, I'll pick up the A, and then what happens is I end up back on myself again. Now, for me, the simple octave is sacred. The root note, I'm not going to call it a 15th like I could have done there. The third, you can see here, it's called the 10th. Okay, now the thing is, this is old money. This is old school. You will hear things called tenths, and I think of that as being a more of a pianistic term. But I think of those as being compound thirds. Does this make sense why it would be called a compound third? Because the E is a third and it's in the compound octave. So this is why it's called a compound third. We don't want to really call it a 10th. And so for this exercise, what we're doing is we're actually going to get rid of that. We're not going to call it a 10th. We're just going to call it a compound third. It's still the third. No matter which way you bake it, it's still third. Let's keep on going up here. If this is sacred, the G here on the triad, the G here, I don't want to call it a 12th. You've never heard it called a 12th. We want to hold the sacred idea that is the 5th. We don't want to confuse ourselves double thinking that something is a 5th and that it's a 12th. The 7th, we can see it's this B here, and we could call it a 14th, but that's ridiculous. So let's just get rid of it. What we end up with here, we can see that we get the root, the 3rd, the 5th. We get a kind of 7th, we get a 9th, we get 11th, and we get a 13th. Let me just write that all out here. So we get root, 3rd, 5th. That's the triad. Then we get the 7th, which is the bridging note. We get the 9, the 11, and the 13. Those are called the upper extensions. All right, so if you see chords and they're called 9ths, 11ths, or 13ths, this is where we are deriving those from. So when you see an 11th chord, you might be thinking to yourself, I only know majors and minors, I know some 7ths, but where the hell does this 11th come from? We can see here that this second note in the scale, it's also known as a 9th. The second is the equivalent of a 9th. And the way you could think about it is if you think of F sharp and G flat, they're enharmonic, but these are letter names, yeah? What we've got here is we've got enharmonic intervals. Then we look over here, we've got 4, and the 4, you can see here, is an F. So we've got an F and an F there. Look, 4 and 11. They're the same thing. Then if we jump over to the A, which is this 6, we can see that the 6 is the same as the 13. When I think about guitar chords, I always think to myself, what's the smallest chord that we have? If we think about it from caged chords, those are your 5 shapes. The C and the A shapes use 5 strings. The G and the E shapes use 6 strings. And the D shape uses 4 strings. So this is the minimal chord size that we need to be able to find any chord. And I'm talking 13ths, 11ths, 9ths, all these funny sounding ones, all these expensive sounding chords. We need to be able to find it in that smallest size chord and be able to express it as a D shape. It's easy with the G's and the E's because there's 6 strings to go at. You've got lots of different places you can find them. If you don't know where to find them, I've done a lesson on intervals and how to find those as well, and that's in the book. Now, the thing that struck me when I was going through this, simple octave to the compound octave. If I went like this, C, E, G, C, E, G, B, D, F, A, and then it joins back up on itself there. And this is where I came around to this idea of this cycle of thirds. You can call it what you want. Circle of thirds. I just joined that up. If I looked at this as being C major here, look, if we did it here, C, E, G, B, D, F, A. If I had a chord, I could play that on the piano, 7 notes, all at the same time, because I've got 10 fingers to go at. Guitar, like I said, the minimum we want to be able to do it is 4. That's the full expression of the C major triad. So we're just using the C major scale. Really, this is chord 1. This is a full expression of chord 1. So this is what I call the full chord. If we've got 4 strings, but 7 notes, we have to get rid of some of these notes. That's going to come later on. But I want you to understand that this is the full expression. This would be a C major 13 chord. C major 13, it's got all those notes. And here is the thing. When we do that, all these semitones, these half steps that live within this full expression of this chord will clash. They will cause tension. So look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 notes in a chord. The more sounds you have in the harmony, the more complex it's going to sound. This is how you understand all the chords. Don't forget, guys, music is the language of emotion. That's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to convey an emotion. How can we convey an emotion if we are essentially robotic in how we approach chords? We have to understand how the notes clash against each other. They rub and they create tensions, but the tensions are not always the same. Some tensions can create longing, some can create feelings of love, some can create feelings of immense sadness. So we need to be able to control all this stuff so that when we play the chords, we can associate that sound with a chord type. Then we can associate a scale to it. And then we can improvise over the top of it. We can compose with that. We've got to remember that composition comes from improvisation. Improvisation is the foundation of composition. So every song that you ever want to learn to play, every song comes from improvisation first. Every song. So look at this. This is the root. This is the third. This is the fifth. This is the seventh. This is the ninth. This is the 11th. And this is the 13th. You play that C triad there, and then you put a D on as well. You are playing a C add 9. That's a little glimpse into how this all works. If you've got the 7 that's doing its bridging job, then this is the major triad. We add this one, it becomes C major 7. We move it up here, we get C major 9, C major 11, C major 13. If we omit notes or we do something funky with the third, then the naming conventions change. Now there's another way to look at this as well. I'm going to stack these notes that we have here, these ingredients. I'm going to use letters. I'm not using standard notation. You don't need to read music because I think this makes it really easy for you to get your head into. So if we look at the key of C major again, we go C, D, E, F, G, A, B. We can not only just think of them as those letter names, those scale degrees, we can also think of them as root notes for our chords. And I'm just going to write the Roman numeral underneath there with the tonality built in. We use uppercase for major sounds, lowercase with dots there for minor sounds, and then we've got this degree symbol here that tells us that this is diminished. So the thing is, these guys here, these are all root notes. The way that triads work, we have a root, we have a third, and we have a fifth. So that's what we're looking at here. I'm going to put this circle of thirds back in here. C, E, G, B, D, F, A. And the way I remember it is, every good band deserves fans and cash. When I saw that, I realised that was an easier way for me to read notes on the stave. If I start on this note here, this is the root note for chord 1. Not only does it tell you what the full chord is, up to the 13th expression, it's going to show you, look, there's the root, third and fifth for chord 1. So root, third and fifth. The distance between C and E is a major third, and that's what defines the tonality of the chord. Major chords, they have, funnily enough, a major third. Minor chords, they have a minor third. So we've got that going on there. But we also get another third here. Look, you can see it. This is the same expression. This is another way of looking at the triad. We're jumping over there with the triads, but here we're stacking it so that you can see it. And you think about it, this is the lowest sound going up. Low, middle, high. For the major third, I'm going to use this symbol here. There's some pedants that talk about it being used just for major 7 chords and major 9s and stuff like that. But I just use it to denote major. It's just shorthand. That's all it is. And that's what music theory should be. I use a minus symbol here for a minor. So in between C and E, the third that we get is a major third. And I can actually put that in here. So if I put major there, going between that C to that E, you can see that's what's going on there. But I want you to see how beautiful this works with major and minor triads. It really is spectacular. With major triads, in between the root and the third, we've got a major third. But in between the third and the fifth, it is always a minor third. So we get this stack. So we go a major third and then a minor third to get to the fifth. It's organised that way. It's wonderful. The next chord we're going to come along to is going to be this D. And I should just say, because this is major here, I don't need to change this here. I know that this is going to be C major. This one here. So let's go here. I'm going to go over to this one. I know this is my root note for the 2 chord. So I'll just put 2 there. So that's my root for my 2 chord. That's the third for my 2 chord. That's the fifth for my 2 chord. I'll put them there. D, F, A. Deserves fans and. Cash every good. Deserves fans and. Whatever mnemonic you want to come up with until you don't need the mnemonic. That's up to you. The cool thing is, with this one, D to an F, it's a minor third. You can memorize this. We've got this minor third here. Then if we go from the F to the A, this is always going to be a major third. And that gives me a D minor chord. So these are the first 2 chords. We stack these scale degrees to make the triads. They're just notes from the scale. You can see we've got the root, the third, and the fifth in a row there like this. It's always going to stack the same way. Root, third, fifth. We're going to go in between there, major, minor. And that's going to be how major stacks. Root, flat third, that's going to be minor, fifth, and then we're going to get that major on there. And that's the way you can remember it. Let's go back to that chord 1. I can put that information in here because it goes major, and then in between E and G, we've got a minor third. So I'll put that in there just to help us along the way. D to the F is going to be minor. F to the A is going to give me major. So this is telling me the distance in between these here, in between this and this. Let's move on to the next one. E, every good band. This is chord 3. E, every good band. E, the most Yorkshire of all the notes and all the chords. Whenever I say E, I think that's how a Yorkshireman says, oh, E by gum. I know that E to G is a minor third, then this is going to be a minor chord as well. So we get E minor. I'm going to work through these quickly. This is going to be chord 4. We're going to put this here. This is chord 4. So the cycle, not only does it tell us the notes in the full expression of the chord, you can see here it's telling us where we start and where we build off cycles. F, A, C, fans and cash. The Roman numeral spelling is already telling me because it's uppercase, I know it's major. So that's a double little confirmation. If we go from the F to the A, that's going to be major. A to the C, that's going to be minor. Let's put that in. We could confirm that. It's already populated that information there. But A to the C is going to be minus. I'll do those in red, actually. F, A, C. There's my triad. And I can see that it's got a major third there, so that's just going to be an F chord. Look, the first 4 chords are revealing themselves to me. G, going from the G, this is going to be chord 5. So there's chord 5 there. G, B, D. Good band deserves. So we go G, B, D. The tonality is already spelt out in the Roman numeral. We can see that it's major, so we're going to put that on there. Major, minor. It's always super useful for us to be able to understand it from this. That's the framework. If we apply notes to it, in alphabet form, then we can see them there. And it doesn't have to be C major, it could be any key. It's always going to be the same. You just add your sharps and flats from the key to the alphabet letters. So we're on chord 6 now. Where's the A? There's the A. 6 is there. Oh, hang on, I didn't finish off G. Come on, Ricky. G, B, and then we'll put this minus here. So you can see it's just this cycle of different thirds. It's not all major thirds and it's not all minor thirds. There's a mix. Now we can move on. A, C, E. Well, look, it's already filled out for me. A, C, E, and cash every. A to C, going to be minor. C to E. Look, we can actually use part of the other chords if we get stuck and we want to just cross-reference and clarify, because it's good to confirm stuff sometimes. That's major. But you can see it's already been spelt out there for us in this cycle of thirds here. That's A minor. Let's put the name of the chord there. Now we've got a tricky one. And actually, because we've spelt everything out, we can see that this B here is going to be chord 7, which is diminished. It's got this little circle here that denotes diminished. And if we look, we go root, third, fifth of that diminished triad. We can see we've got a minor third followed by another minor third. So this changes the rule ever so slightly. We get a root, flat third, but we also get a flat fifth. If you imagine it, pulling that fifth back a fret, then it would be flattened. It's important to know if you play blues. So there you get 2 minor thirds that stack upon top of each other. So B, D, F, minor and minor. So hopefully you can see that this explains the tonality of the chords that we get in the major key there. That's brilliant. It's super, super useful. But these are just triads. These aren't the full expression of the chord. Remember, the full expression of the chord was this. Root, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, 11th and 13th. We've only got 3 notes. We've got another 4 to go at. How do we do that? Let's do this in a more logical way. If you remember the lesson that I did a while ago, I called it the Rosetta Stone. And I talked to you about how these things are synonyms. When we're in the key of C major, we're thinking that the chord is C major. But we can also think of it as chord 1. So there's 2 ways that we can think of it. If you want to think about the structure, then you can come down here and think about how the thirds are stacked. That's another level of understanding. So the way I think of it is there are synonyms, and this is what I go on about, synonyms. So for chord 1, what we can do, and don't let this scare you because I'm going to say the word. Please God, no! Modes. So this, as well as being major, it's also known as Ionian. Chord 1 and Ionian are the same thing. Chord 2 is Dorian. Then the next one we get is Phrygian. Next is Lydian, Mixo-Lydian, Aeolian, Locrian. Now we've got the synonyms for this. In the book, there's some stuff that you just need to know. Common scale formulas. And these are just recipes. It's just a recipe to help us. I've put these mode formulas in here. We can see the recipe, if you will, for each scale. Ionian, notice, because it's major, this is the major scale. Root, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. None of those scale degrees have been altered or changed in any way. But if we look at Dorian, we can see that it's got root, second, flat third, fourth, fifth, sixth, flat seven. I've highlighted them for ease here. Phrygian, root, it's got a flat second, flat third, flat sixth, and the flat seventh. These become the colour notes, the notes that give it its personality. So this is why you need these different sounds. There is a kind of lightness to darkness with modes and the way that they sound. Lydian is the lightest sound, whereas Locrian is the darkest sound. And the reason it's the darkest sound is because it's got all the flats. Look at that. It's the most altered scale in there. This sharp 4 in the Lydian gives us a very uplifting feeling. If you ever listen to Steve Vai or Frank Zappa or Joe Satriani, Lydian, that's their sound. Gary Moore is Mixolydian. This is linked to the blues. This is going to give you bluesy sounds. So you need to know what chords to put it on. When I hear the word mode, it's equivalent to the word mood, because mood is the language of emotion. We're creating moods. So we've got these mode formulas. I want to show you how we can associate this. We're going to do another cycle of thirds. But I have a special sheet of paper for this one. So here is why you need to know how to read your key signatures. Key signatures are really important, guys. I released a new video on my channel. You need to understand key signatures to be able to find them. If you don't understand key signatures, you can't play in every key. Let's do another key. And like I say, in the book, I've attached the sharps and the flats to the keys. But what I tend to do is I tend to just put the key signature in the middle, just to help me, just to remind me. Remember, for sharp keys, you take the last sharp and you raise it a semitone, and that is your key. So here, Father Charles goes G sharp, raise it a semitone, gives you an A. So this is the key of A. I'm going to put this A in here. Now what we do is go around the cycle and we're going to use our mnemonic to help us to fill it out. And cash, every, good, band, deserves, fans. Now that's still just C major. Until we put the sharps on, then it's not going to do us any good. So Father, F sharp, C sharp, Charles, C sharp, G sharp, goes. We've got the key of A major. A is going to be chord 1. B is going to be chord 2. Because I've put that on there, I could think of it as being B minor. Put that there. This is going to be B minor. They're the same thing. That's the root note of the B minor, and we can express it as the 2 minor there. So we've got B. Okay, C's next, but it's been changed, so this is going to be chord 3, and that's going to give us C sharp minor. Let's find D, which is going to be chord 4, which is going to be D major. Let's jump over again. Over to E, this is going to be chord 5, which is going to be E. And then we're going to go over to F sharp, which is going to be chord 6. But because we've got this lowercase spell in here, it's going to be F sharp minor. And we jump over to G sharp here. We can see that's the leading note, and that's going to take us back to A. So this is going to be G sharp diminished. There's the chords. What we can do is just write them out in a linear manner. I was saying right at the beginning that we can understand things in a linear manner, but we can also understand them in a circular manner. So this circle, you might have to hunt around for it a bit. And so you go A, B minor, C sharp minor, might not have enough space here, D, E, F sharp minor, and then G sharp diminished. Those are just chords in the key of A. Now the thing is, look at this. This is a tangent, guys. Pay attention. This is for guitar. We've got the L7 grid, the mighty L7 grid, the gift that keeps on giving. You can clarify this with me. This chord 1 here, if you take this here, that A, and you make that your first chord there in that L7 grid on the E and the A string, whatever your tonic is there, chord 1, then you just put it there and then you play your grids like that. Follow the grid. You don't need all this. It's going to help, I'm not going to lie, it's going to help give you a deeper understanding, but this, the grid, is going to unlock it. That's the practical application. This is the L7 grid here. You could just think of it as the major grid. So we can look at it in that way, but there is the thing that I was on about before. This is the full expression. This is the gold that I want to show you. This is the key of A. We're going to go A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp. That's essentially the A major scale. I've already got my information that I need here. Look at this. I've got the first three notes there. If I look at this as being my cycle of thirds going up this way, just like I stacked them before, you see here, C, E, G. I could put them in circles like that. I'm going to do it here. So now I've got A, C sharp, E. Those are the notes for my triad for chord 1. So now I know it's a C sharp here. All I need to do is carry my musical alphabet all the way along there. So I've just taken those along there. Remembering that in between there and there, we're going to have a minor there, we're going to have a major there. This is chord 1, A major. But then what we can do is we can do the same thing. B, D, F. Band deserves fans. Cash every good. Let me put those sharps on. D, F sharp, A. E, G sharp, B. Every good band. We're just amending them with these sharps. F, A, C sharp. F, A, C. It's still going to be the same thing. G, B, D. So we've still got the same triads. And those rules that we had there for those triads, they're going to carry over as well. So B to D, that's going to be minor. D to the F sharp, that's going to be major. Because I know that this is how the minor triad is constructed. Same thing. I don't need to get into all of these here because I need to reserve some space to be able to show you the next bit of information. But what I can do is I can carry this information here and I can go A, C, E, and cash every good band deserves fans. Let me put the sharps on it. I'm going to segment the 7th off there. So here we have the triad in this section. This is the 7th. And these are the upper extensions. Do you remember? From the compound octave. Now what we're doing is we're expressing each chord in its full 7-note voicing. Band deserves fans and cash every good. Cash every good band deserves fans and. Deserves fans and cash every good band. Every good band deserves fans and cash. So this is not only just spelling out the letters, I'm going to get into the intervals as well. Fans and cash, every good band deserves. Good band deserves fans and cash every. Okay, here we've got the triad, we've got the 7th, and then we've got the extensions. The extensions are up there. Now that's great, but the information that you need to know about this is, like I said to you right at the beginning, that this is an expression of the full scale. If we do it on chord 1, we can think of it as Ionian. Now all we need to do, look at this sheet here guys, root, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. Now we have to express that in the tertian. Remember the formula for that was root, 3rd, 5th. So I'll do this here. That's going to be my triad. Root, 3rd, 5th. Then we get a 7th, we get a 9th, 11th, and then we get a 13. So you're playing an A major 13. You want to know what the 13 is? It's going to be an F sharp. It's telling you, it's lining them up for you and showing you which ones are which. 9, 11, 13. So not only can you use the interval information, you can actually use the notes because you know where the notes are on your fretboard, of course. You do know where the notes are on your fretboards, don't you? If you don't, then that's what the next book is about. It's about understanding your fretboard. Let's apply this to it here. Root, 3rd, 5th, 7, 9, 11, 13. Let me amend those intervals now so that they tally with the spelling for Dorian. So we've got root, we've got a flat 3rd. We have a 5th. Yeah, that's fine. Remember, the triad is sacred. The triad is sacred. Oh, hang on. We've got a flat 7. So let's amend that there. So we can see here that we've got a minor triad with a minor 7. So that means we're going to get a minor 7 chord. Also, is the 9th altered? No, because remember, 2 and 9, 4 and 11, 6 and 13, they're synonyms, they're enharmonic intervals. So I should just say as well, if we have a flat 2nd, then that's going to alter that compound interval as well. So flat 2nd becomes flat 9. Sharp 4 can become sharp 11. Flat 6 is going to be flat 13. This is where all those expensive sounding chords come from, guys. Right, now we're fortunate in this instance that the 9th is just a 2nd. Phew! The 4th is just a 4th. Good. The 6th is just a 6th, so we don't need to change anything there. But you start to be able to see that you could have a minor 9 chord, a minor 11 chord, a minor 13 chord. But bear in mind, there are 2 semitones, half steps embedded in there, which will create tension, and that rub might not be what you are looking for. Let's look at Phrygian. Phrygian is the third mode. We've got a root, third, fifth, seventh, ninth, 11th, and 13. Phrygian. It's got a flat third. It's got a normal fifth, flat 7. We can see that this is going to be minor. We know it's minor because the Roman numeral spelling tells us. It's a C sharp minor. You play a C sharp minor chord, you're going to play Phrygian on top of it in the key of A. If we look at Phrygian, there is an anomaly that we get there with this. We have a flat second, so that means this rule is going to apply. So this becomes a flat 9. Flat 9, it's a semitone away from the root note. That's not always going to be the best sound. Flat 6 is going to be a flat 13. Remember, any chord we want to be able to make on a D shape, 4 strings, so we can omit and get rid of these. Now let's look at Lydian. We go root, third, fifth, 7th, 9th, 11th, and 13. We know that that's fine. We can see here, the only note that's different is the sharp 4. The sharp 4 is going to be called a sharp 11. So if you get a sharp 11 chord, you play Lydian on it, and that's it. This is going to help you unlock all your chords and all your modes. So root, third, fifth, 7th, 9, 11, 13. The only difference on the mixed Lydian is it's got flat 7. Aeolian, also known as the natural minor. We've got a root, flat third, fifth, 7, we've got 9, 11, and we've got a 13. Well, let's have a look at Aeolian. It's got a flat third, which we've already put in. It's got a flat 6, so that's going to be a flat 13. These are all extra colours you can add to these chords. So chord 6, you could have a flat 13. This leaves chord 7, the ugly one, wobbly bob. Root, flat third, 5th, 7th, 9th, 11th, and a 13 here. So let's look at Locrian. Well, we've got flat third, but we also have this flat 5th, this diminished 5th here. We've also got flat 7. We've also got a flat 9. We haven't got any modification on the 11, but we do have a modification on the 13. We get a flat 13 there. Okay, these are the full expressions of these chords. This is going to tell you what other colours you can have there. You don't have to just think about in terms of triads. Now you can start to think to yourself, I can add these 7ths, but what about the extensions? What about the 9ths, 11ths and 13ths? What can I do with those guys? Rewind, watch again, draw along with me. Get some paper and a pen, draw along with me. And that goes a long way because the way we learn, writing things out is really useful. It makes it more tangible because just thinking things, those thoughts, they get mixed up and then it's lost. A good thing would be something like this, the Jazz Fake book. What we do is we take a tune and you look at the fancy, expensive chords and it gives you examples that give you context and maybe something that you can play and add to your repertoire. And then once you add that to your repertoire, then you're actually playing guitar. And that's what it's all about at the end of the day.